My name is Florence Sekolane. I'm a domestic worker working with the organization BWC, which is Black Women Caucus, and Easy Domestic Worker Alliance. What I do, I work as a nanny. And working as a nanny is like helping that family to raise their kids while they go, extend their careers in their work of profession. So I'm at their home looking after their kids so that they can go wherever they go to make their own decision and to make their own way of living. I find it very difficult and very challenging because I myself am a mother and I also have kids that I have to leave unattended with no one to look after them because I don't have much so that I can find also somebody to help my kids for them to get ready to go to school. But I am at their home helping their kids to get ready and go to school. It's a very challenging job. We contribute a lot to the economy because without us and allowing them to go to their workplaces, to do whatever they have to do, they have to have me to look after their home, to put their life together, like, tidying up and then putting the things together that they leave scattered because they're never gonna get a chance to make their own bed. They're never gonna get the chance to tidy up their kitchen. So it will be me, of which I don't have the chance to do that to my home. When I speak of the forgotten nation, I speak of people like us as domestic workers, whereby even if they go and buy you like the work clothes, they just pick whatever. They don't care, however you're comfortable. Are those clothes protective for you to protect you? And then in the terms of like being forgotten, wherever they go, they never mention a domestic worker. Wherever they sit in the boardrooms making decisions, the domestic worker is never mentioned. Even if they buy food into their homes, a domestic worker will always be bought bread and butter and cheese, whereby you don't eat for your well-being, you don't eat for your health. In this home where I speak, there is a woman who is a mother, who is a sister, who is, taking those decisions to violate my decision as a woman, who will go out there and then not to talk about me, how the importance I'm running in her home, and then take the decision that I'm not for finer things. I'm not for the person that she can hold a conversation and talk about me and talk about what I do in her home. What is the contribution that I do that allows her to be who she is, and then to come home and be able to get that time to say, no, I want to relax, because everything has been made and everything has been laid for her to get that opportunity to say, okay, I get a chance to relax because my kitchen is clean, my house is clean, my kids are being well looked after. We are forgotten, even the government, the community, the country. When they talk about domestic workers, they always speak about people who never went to school. They can't read or write. Somebody has to decide for them, or we have to rely. Even if now I get sick, I have to expose myself to this woman and say, look, I'm sick, but you will need to know what is bothering me. I'm not going to be able to go to the doctor and be able to have a closure on my own and accepting what sickness am I going through, because I'm always dependent. Because as this woman will look at me, will never be able to pay me what is access that I can also have a medical aid. I can also have some saving. I can also walk in the bank and say, oh, look, I'm looking for a bond. Do I qualify? I don't qualify as a domestic worker, because every time you walk into the bank and they say, okay, I'm looking for a bond, I'm a domestic worker, and this is what I'm earning. The first person to laugh to you is the women that are also violating your right as a woman, rather than holding your hand and say, okay, let's see how we can be able to help you. Instead, they're slamming the door on you, of which we find that we are the forgotten nation, of which it starts with us. For the president to go out there and looking all dressed up in the clean clothes, it starts with the domestic worker. Those are the work of the domestic workers. For the economics, for a chartered accountant, for a manager somewhere, it starts with the domestic worker. Because even a child who is today is being turned to be a doctor, is going to be a doctor being from the hands of the domestic worker, of which means that child that I've been nurturing from a tender age will look at me and not even, celebrate me as a woman who was there in her life to nurture her, because you don't know what are they being told? Are they being taught to respect this woman? Because as it is, I work as a domestic worker, you find that now the kids that I've raised, they now know that I cannot share the same food from the same pot that they're having. I cannot sit with them at the same table. I cannot use the same phone that they're using, because I don't matter. I don't matter. I'm not, there's not the importance of me in their life going forward. With these women who are there, she's a mother to a daughter, of which I'm also a mother to a daughter who will need pads, who will need a hairstyle, who will need like it's something to beautify themselves, who will need to be recognized or to be put in a society as a girl who grew up somewhere with manners or who got whatever she was willing to get. But for my kids, they find that they don't have access to that. From what I've heard is that as women, we need to, to acknowledge and to respect each other. And then, you need to reach out. Like there are women who are stuck somewhere, whereby they just need you to stretch your hand and say, okay, I've got you. You can start from here going forward. There are women who are stuck inside, who needs that, like the sunlight. You can go there and say, okay, I'm here, I'll walk you outside. There is somebody, a woman with children who haven't had any food. You can take a plate of food and say, okay, I've got a plate of food, but we can make other meals going forward with you. And I would like to extend my gratitude to the Duchess of Sussex, who recently turned 40 and invited 40 women to use their 40 minutes to reach out to other women who are outside there. Those are the people that you see that they want this conversation to keep on happening. They want to create platform for the women to tell their stories, women like us, women who have been forgotten, women that doesn't have power to say, okay, I'll walk into parliament and say, okay, I'm a domestic worker, I need to be heard. Because I had my own opinion. I'm a domestic worker. I need my health to be prioritized because I'm also a woman in this world who is also, contributing to the economy, who's also a mother. So I would like to extend the gratitude to her to keep on, creating platforms for women, since she realized that during COVID, most women lost their jobs, and then most of the homes are being headed by the women. I wish also she can also extend their hand, that she can also find her way to help women in South Africa to create those kind of platforms to keep the conversation going. Speaking of the organization that I'm with, which is the BWC and the Easy Domestic Worker Alliance, with the BWC, the organization that is being built of very strong women and being led by a young woman who is just turning into her 20s. And I call her my pathfinder. And her name is Yethu, of which I find that it's a very powerful for a young woman to create that platform to say, okay, I'm going to teach all the women, I'm going to hold these women together, to teach them to be powerful, to teach them to, to speak up, to be not afraid going forward, and to teach them about DBV, of which it also affects us at our workplace as domestic workers, since we work at a private space, whereby even if it's happening, you don't have the witness to say, okay, I saw this happening, or I agree with her, this is what happened, because it's only you who is going to be the victim and the witness to yourself, of which it will be likely not to be true, because the whole of the family, they're going to stand with one statement for the family that you work for. And recently she became one of the 1,000 influential young person, of which I find that she is reaching out. She's making all her effort to touch each and every woman's life, and the little girl who is the same umbrella of the fallen nation. And she is going to the Katrada informal settlement, whereby people, they live in shacks, and then she's trying to give them hope. She's trying to bring change. She's trying to empower them, to say, this is not the end. This is just the beginning. This is just the way we want to go. You just need to know when to grab a mic and, speak, and then let the people hear and let the people help where they can help by giving the hope. And when I have to come to Easy Domestic Worker Alliance, it's a group of women who are domestic workers who decided to come together to speak about the hardship and their journey as domestic workers at their workplaces. And as you find that some of them, they're being emotionally abused, they're being physically abused, they're being underpaid, the decisions are being made for them without their consent. And you cannot say, okay, I don't want to do this, or I disagree with this, because you're also scared that this is the source of income that I have. So I see that domestic workers are the most strongest person, no matter how much the abuse or the situation that they face there at their workplace. They've got this courage to say, I will wake up and go and face that person, no matter how much abuse or how much the bad treatment that they are doing for me. I will go there and face them, and then keep calm and carry on, because this is where I am. This is my source of living going forward. And then that's where you find that most women, they suffer in silence because they are scared of losing this source of income that they only have. And it's really because some of the domestic workers, even if we don't speak about them, there are domestic workers that were killed and disappeared. And then they were declared like she went out for the weekend, of which she was killed maybe by the employer because she said something. She was made silence because she was maybe sexually abused at the workplace. She was made silence because she was trying to speak up. She was made silence because she tried to be in a certain union. She was, made silence because she wanted to go for an interview and tell her story. Then she was, put the fear to say, if you go and say this, make sure you're not going to come here and work for us. Then you are always being silenced. Your voice is always taken away from you just because you are a domestic worker, just because you are there in that private space alone. And then you don't have any power to say, no, this is where I'm going to speak up. So we need to have other women that I can come and say, no, I trust Ubomi. I can tell Yvonne about this to say, okay, this is what I'm facing. How can you help me? Where do I go from here? I believe the conversation has to keep on. In every one of us, for those women that marched on 1956, there is a reflection of one of them in Wemeda. It's either one of us or five of us, of which we can make a collective effort to make it happen, to bring change, to be able to build this platform for women, whereby even if you walk in, even a small picture or a small tiny drawing will mean something to you as a woman. You'll be able to walk into this platform and understand, because it has been built by women. It has been, narrated by women. First, I would like to say, as women, we have to stop being the garbage trucks. We need to not to keep everything inside. You need to learn to speak, but find your reliable source for the organization to organize. It's very powerful because it brings different people with different behavior together, with different stories, with different emotions, so that if we can be in a room, like, five of us, we've got different emotions, we've got different mindset. So by relating our emotions or our behaviors, it makes me understand, who am I dealing with? Who do I want to work with? Who do I want to share my stories with? And going forward. So it is very powerful because it makes you understand. It makes you like, you want to sit and listen to somebody who's got a problem. You want to sit and see who's got tears in her eyes. Why do they have tears in their eyes? Should I go and ask, am I related to that thing? I have to leave that thing. How would I feel leaving her with the tears in her heart without finding out what is wrong with her? Why does she look like that? Well, then it is very powerful because it will bring you together to understand another woman's problem, to say, okay, I saw her looking like that. She couldn't even pick up her cup of tea and drink. What might be going on with her? What might be in her story? What is she going through? I think it is powerful. It is really like, we cannot stop organizing. We cannot stop coming together, because that's where things happen. That's where we bring change and bring hope in other people's lives.